All right. Welcome back to day two of Marvin's DNA Blueprint. Now, Friday, I told you how I personally got into the DNA testing business. Tonight we're gonna get into the actual services that we offer. One thing I want to keep emphasizing throughout this series is I'm teaching you from my experience actually operating a DNA testing business. So there may be other ways to do some of this. So always follow your laboratory's procedures and requirements wherever you operate. Now, by the end of tonight, you should have a much better understanding of um, the type of DNA test you might want to offer whenever you start. So there's a wide variety of DNA tests that you can actually offer. Some of the most popular ones are going to be paternity tests, um, legal paternity test, and an informational paternity test, what we call a peace of mind paternity test. Um, every now and then you might get like I get an avuncular test. So that's when we test the uncle in the child, or you might get a siblingship test where you test two siblings to see are they related. So we have a motherless paternity test where the mother is not needed for the test. And there's all type of tests. I mean, they have a pet test that tests like specific allergies for your pets. They have as a matter of fact, there's also a gender reveal test. Like if they just want to know the gender of the child. We also offer non-invasive paternity tests, like if the mother is pregnant, and then we'll draw blood from the mother and get a cheek swab from the father to determine that test. So that's just to name a few. I'm pretty sure you've heard of ancestry test, all right, or what they call GPS origins test. But basically, it's an ancestry test. That particular test it takes the longest to get the results back. It could be up to 45 days. So yeah. But yeah, so we offer a multitude of different tests, and you'll be able to offer a multitude of different tests as well. Again, there's a food and pet sensitivity test, there's a healthy weight test, um, avuncular test, where it's the child and alleged uncle, genetic reconstruction test when it's the mother, child, and two parental relatives. So the most popular test that you will encounter that people need is just the paternity test, right? The alleged father and child test, which usually consists of just what we call a buccal swab. I was pronouncing it incorrectly at first, um, pronouncing it buccal swab, but it's actually a buccal swab, which is a cheek swab. And what we're searching for, what we're doing when we, because as a matter of fact, I'll show you exactly what the kit looks like. So here's how the kit looks. This is a kit for an informational test. All right. And let's say somebody called you because they wanted a paternity test for informational purposes only. And so you would use these buccal swabs. All right. They basically look like two long Q-tips. All right. So here's one. So the way it works is we put the swab on the inside of the cheek and we are swabbing up and down. All right. And I twist it when I do it because what you're collecting is not just saliva, you're trying to collect cheek cells as well. All right. So you up and down, up and down, up and down. And you have to do that for 30 seconds. And each one of them. So you'll take the second one and then up and down, up and down, up and down. And you do that for 30 seconds. and that's a buccal swab. All right. Now, the laboratory actually performs the DNA analysis. Um, your role would be just coordinating the test, collecting the specimens when appropriate, the paperwork, again, because with each test, well, with the informational test, you only have um, this piece of paper right here. And it says, I attest that I have received and understood the sample collection training information provided by the DDC. All right. And then here's the specimen collection chain of custody procedure. We only need a chain of custody form, though, for a legal test, but this paper actually just gives them the procedure of what to do. So let's say that you ship the test, because for most informational tests, I ship them to customers and allow them to do it themselves. So it comes with the instructions and it comes with this paper. They basically fill this out. They read the instructions, they fill this out. Once they do, they collect their sample. All right. They fill out their envelope first, then they collect their samples, and then they put the samples uh, directly in the envelope. All right. So all this will be filled out. And it just says, the patient's name, initials, date of birth, collector's name, which would be the patient, if we send it to you, initials, collection date, sample form, um, and this will be, let's say if this is the father, you would check a ledger father, and then once you do the buccal swab on the child, you will select child, and it says use 4 swabs for each test. So in the sample I showed you just now, I only use 2, but you would actually come back in here and get another one, right? And then you would do it again. And each swab is 30 seconds each, right? So 60 seconds on this side, 2 swabs, 60 seconds on this side, 2 swabs, 30 seconds each. That's how I do it. And then all 4 of them will go in here, right? And then that's it. So we'll put it back in here. You do the same thing for the child. You put it back in this envelope, and they would also put the signed form back in the envelope, and it will come with a shipping label as well in a FedEx envelope. They just drop it in the FedEx envelope. They put the shipping label on it and send it to the DDC. All right, prepaid shipping, everything good to go. Now, sometimes for those informational tests, we go and do the test because they prefer that, we go and do the test for them. In that case, we would charge like a mileage fee or something like that with the regular test price, but you can really charge whatever you want. In my particular case, right now, I charge $369 for the legal test, $229 for the peace of mind test. All right. So again, your role just involves customer intake, coordinating the test, collecting specimens with appropriate paperwork, and the payment, and getting the samples to the lab. Turnaround time and procedures depend on the laboratory. It's usually 2 to 5 business days. I would tell the customer, best case scenario, 2 to 3 business days. All right. Um, so again, there's legal versus non-legal paternity tests. The non-legal or informational tests are primarily for personal knowledge, depending on the lab. Collection may be less formal because the result isn't intended for court or another official purpose. So you don't necessarily need a chain of custody form filled out. And I believe I have one of those right here. Show you exactly what that is. Now, for the legal test, it requires the laboratory to fill out a chain of custody procedures, identify verification, and documented specimen collection. These results may be used for matters such as child support, custody, or other legal purposes, depending on the situation. So don't just ask somebody, do you want a paternity test? Ask them what they need the results for. That answer helps determine which test they actually need. So I'll see if I have a chain of custody form. Matter of fact, I will pull one up and show it to you because I have the ability to screen share. So why not? So whenever you do a test for legal purposes, you will fill out this chain of custody or client identification form. And You would just put if once you become a partner with the DDC, you put your business name right here. You put your business address, phone number, email. All right. So if you're just testing the father and child, you wouldn't fill out this mother section right here. On the child, you will put the child's first name, last name, middle initial, if given one, the sex of the child, the date of birth, the social security number, or the last four of the social, the race, and a child most likely is not going to have an ID, so you can use the parent's ID in that case. You can have the parent also sign for the child, and also you want to find out, has the child had a blood transfusion within the last 3 months? Have they had a bone marrow transplant within the or stem cell transplant, or have they previously participated in a paternity test? If no, you select no for all. If yes, you select appropriately. Now, with the father, same thing: first name, last name, middle initial, date of birth, last four of social, race, and then you definitely want to get his ID for a legal test. The testing party, that's of age have to present ID. So once you get the ID, you take a photo of it, then you check off on here that you got a driver's license or the military ID or whatever. And then you ask the same three questions here, and you have the father sign here. If it's a motherless paternity test and it's just the father and child, which means you don't need the mother involved, then you just have the father sign here, and you have the father sign here for the child. You also will come down and you will fill out the collector statement. This is where you put your signature and your name printed, the date and the time. You also put your business name here if it's different from the address above. Also, you will put the father's contact information here, his address, city, state, phone number. Same thing for the child. If this is a motherless paternity test, if the mother is involved in the test, you will put her information here as well. All right. So that's it. The rest of the stuff, DDC actually fills it out. And whatever case number you generate, because once you get a customer and they get that, once the customer makes the payment to me, I generate them a case number and I will write that case number right here. All right. So that is how the typical form looks. Now, there's another form of testing called prenatal testing. All right. So prenatal DNA testing is when the mother is pregnant. All right. So it's often called uh, a non-invasive prenatal paternity test. It typically involves maternal blood plus a sample from the alleged father, usually significantly more expensive than a standard post-birth paternity test. And the laboratory eligibility requirements, time and specimen requirements, and pricing vary. All right, so this is exactly why you need to know your laboratory services before you start advertising everything under the sun. Um, so with the non-invasive prenatal paternity test, I will share again, and I'm going to go to my website to show you exactly how much we charge for this particular test. So if you come over to DNA testing that we offer, then you go to non-invasive prenatal paternity test. And feel free to use my website to learn, to ask questions, to whatever you need it for, use it. I have a free ebook on here you can download as well. You can test out my virtual representative Ava. Like, just feel free to kind of familiarize yourself with what we got going on here. So the non-invasive prenatal paternity test, we have it listed for 1775. Now I'll tell you, when I first started, I was I was anxious to get a non-invasive prenatal paternity test done. And one of my first tests was actually a non-invasive prenatal paternity test. At the time, I think I gave the dude a discount or a deal. Like, I have to pay $1,200 for this test. All right. So once I get a customer that wants to do it, at 1775 minus 1,200, I make a $575 profit. Right. Not necessarily profit, but $575 would be the money that I have after the customer pays the 1775 to get the test done. Out of that, right? So let me give you an example. Last year when I started, I gave a guy a discount, and I think I charged 1,500, right, for the test. Now, this guy, you know, he said he was going through a lot. There was a girl and she had a boyfriend, and if he didn't get this test, then his life would be ruined forever if the child was his. And he was really on my neck. He was asking me, what's the company, a scam, and a lot of stuff. So I gave him a discount on the test because it was my first non-invasive prenatal paternity test. Now, mind you, the test costs $1,200, so 1,500 minus 1,200, that gives me a $300 profit. Now, I'm not a phlebotomist. You need a phlebotomist for this test because it requires a blood draw from the mother, and the mom have to be at least 7 weeks pregnant for the test. So the mom was indeed 7 weeks pregnant. So I hired, I'm sorry, I went into the portal and I looked for a specimen collector in their area. Couldn't find one. So I went on Google and I searched for phlebotomist, and I found a phlebotomist in that area, and I called him and asked him how much would he charge to go and do this blood draw for me. He told me it was $100 for the blood draw. So boom, okay, so we take away 100. I gave him 100 to do that, and then he went and got the test, and then I think he charged me like another 50 to go do the blood draw from the father because the mother and the father were in two different cities, but they were close, but two different cities. So anyway, he goes to do the blood draws, and he goes to do the buccal swab on the father. I get the information, send it in to the lab. The lab contacts me a few weeks later and say, hey, we didn't have enough fetal DNA. We couldn't detect enough fetal DNA in the blood, so we have to let her wait like another week or so, and then we do the test again. So I asked the phlebotomist, will he do the test again? He said, sure, and he would charge me he would give me a discount to go and collect the sample, and he charged me $50 to go do that blood draw again. So I walked away with $100 from that for that test, right? So what I found is that it's not always advantageous to give a customer a discount just because you want their business, because there's things that may go wrong, and there's times that you may have to retest, and you have to have the capital for that to cover that cost, or else you end up eating that cost. So after that particular test, I rose the price up to like 17.99 per test. Recently lowered it down to like 17.75. But that is the non-invasive prenatal paternity test. All right, so the non-invasive prenatal test, it offers a safe and cutting-edge way to determine paternity as early as 7 weeks into the pregnancy without any risk to the mother or unborn child. This test utilizes the latest technology to analyze free-floating fetal DNA found in the mother's blood and compares it with the alleged father's DNA obtained via a sample cheek swab. Excuse me. Unlike invasive methods such as amni Okay, I'm about to slaughter this word. Amniocentesis. Amniocentesis, or CVS. The NIP test requires no invasive procedures, making it the safest option for prenatal paternity testing with an accuracy of 99.9%. Results typically within 7 to 10 business days. So I have a list of questions here um, that people usually ask when they get this test. So I just created like a FAQ section, and I put that here. What kind of samples are required for this test? We get a blood sample from the mother and a cheek swab from the alleged father to accurately determine paternity. All right, how long does it take? Do you make an appointment? So this is an example, or one of the most expensive tests that we offer. All right. And as you can see, I have it listed as $19.99 on sale for $17.75. So once the test sells, then um, this particular test, I typically outsource it because I'm not a phlebotomist, so I outsource the blood draw part. If the patient or customer is close enough to me, then I will actually go and do the buccal swab myself. If not, then I actually outsource the buccal swab as well. Now we also have relationship testing. So with relationship testing, we have like a grandparentage test, which is useful when the parent isn't available and the biological relationship is being investigated through the grandparents. Like I had one test where the son had died, and the grandmother wanted to test the daughter to see was the daughter the son's. Um, so that test was a little bit touchy, a little bit emotional because the daughter really wanted to be um the son's daughter, but come to find out she wasn't. So I don't know what happened in that situation. I just delivered the results. There's a siblingship test which determines whether individuals are likely to share one or both biological parents. I've done those tests as well. Let's say when the father has gotten old, he's deceased, and then, people are fighting over a will, and then they want to know, are they related to determine, can this other person that's claiming to be a child of the father get get can this person, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Can they get like a cut of like the property or whatever is left over, from the will? So heirs, right? So it's to prove whether or not the ones I did was to prove whether or not this person was an heir of the actual deceased person. Avuncular testing is aunt and uncle relationship testing. And that's when you're testing the aunt with the child or the uncle with the child. Other relationship testing, depending on what your partner laboratory offers. So one mistake would be thinking that every customer who wants to establish a biological relationship needs a paternity test. Sometimes the alleged father isn't available. That's when knowing your other relationship test becomes valuable. Um, Immigration and DNA testing. All right. So sometimes these tests can be used to establish biological relationship in immigration matters. But it's not something you want to, this particular test, I haven't done them. Uh what I do is if I get an immigration test, I contact uh my contact at the DDC. Like once I log into my portal, right, there's a name of a person that handles, your questions and things of that sort. So I would contact him, and then he actually sets up the immigration test. But I do advertise immigration tests, but if I get one, I use the DDC to help form those tests. So, um, but I wouldn't promise my customer like anything based on what I think should happen. Uh, let's see what else we need to cover here. So let me show you the test that I actually offer again. So once you come to my site and then you hover over to tests we offer here, you'll see I offer paternity test, legal, peace of mind test, informational, which is a non-legal test, standard trio paternity test is when you're testing the mother, the child, and the alleged father. Non-invasive prenatal paternity test, non-invasive prenatal paternity informational test, siblingship DNA test, siblingship informational test. So you have legal and non-legal, avuncular test, legal and non-legal. So I actually am about to add more tests because I have the ability to offer many more tests. But like these are the ones that I started out with and I kind of just stuck with them. But what I'm seeing now is that there is definitely a demand for like different tests, like ancestry tests. There's a new test that the DDC, well, it's not a new test, but they put it in the portal recently. This particular test is to determine the sex of an individual because it has a lot to do with like sports and like uh they want to make sure that they're testing and looking for a certain gene in the individual to play the sport that plays sports to make sure that they're playing in the right category, like that the men are playing with men and the women are playing with women. So they test a specific gene in the athlete that determines the gender of the person. Um, but there's a lot of different tests, but the main ones that I promote are these, but I'm definitely about to start promoting a lot more different tests. So, but you don't need 30 different services on your website on day one, so I rather understand 5 services really well and then and then advertise 30 tests rather than advertise 30 tests that I don't know how to handle. So I would start out from just starting out the same way I started out here with just paternity test, the peace of mind paternity test, and the legal paternity test, non-invasive paternity test, and maybe siblingship or molecular, just these simple tests that people do that look for all the time. Also a gender reveal test. We also do the peekaboo test, which is a gender reveal test kit. With this test kit, there's also a blood draw that is required, so we can send this test to the applicant and then we can schedule a phlebotomist to come and draw the blood. If you are a phlebotomist, then that's even better because you can go and draw the blood yourself and you don't have to pay a specimen collector to do that for you or a phlebotomist to do that for you, but you draw the blood and then you send it in, and then you can determine the gender of the child with that test. Now, with the non-invasive prenatal paternity test, it also just determines the gender of the child as well. It doesn't just determine whether the alleged father is the actual father. It also determines the gender of the child. But with the peekaboo test, you can discover your baby's gender early, and it's a gender reveal test. It's a private, discreet experience designed for gender reveal purposes. The kit includes a professional coordination of a licensed phlebotomist, secure sample processing, and digital delivery of your results so you can plan your reveal with confidence. So this is especially for those who want to do a gender reveal. All right. Again, you can go on the website and see how the actual test works. So basically, the way a customer moves through my business is um, they contact me. Once they contact me, I determine what they need. And it's multiple ways they contact me. They contact me through the AI chat representative. They may contact me through Facebook. They may fill out a form on the website and I get an email, or they may call because I did get a couple calls today. And I determine, what tests do they need, and then I determine if it's legal versus informational. Then I explain the price, the process, the schedule. I collect and coordinate these specimens. The samples then go to the laboratory. The laboratory performs the testing, and then the results are released according to the lab's process. And they let you know when the results are done by email, and then you can log into your portal once you become a DDC partner, and then you can see the results. If you're not a DDC partner, like I signed up with a Choice DNA when I got started, and I'll show you their website. But with Choice DNA, they didn't give you a back end section, so I would have to depend on um, my affiliate manager to send me the results. And then I would just forward those results over to my customer. But when I first got started, I signed up on Choice for DNA.com. Once I did a couple of tests with Choice DNA, then DDC contacted me directly. So if you start out um, with Choice DNA or any other type of affiliate, then will help me. Follow my steps and my instructions, and you'll get your first few tests. Once you're ready, then I can definitely introduce you to my DNA, my DDC um, representative, and then see can we get you your own DDC account. But they had a link on here for affiliates. But I seen one time last year that they stopped taking affiliates. So I don't know if they still do it. Let's see here. Maybe I can perform a search. The website has changed a lot. Mhm. So they've definitely updated the website. I'm gonna type choice DNA affiliate. See here. Become a DNA affiliate. At one point, their DNA affiliate program was closed, but it doesn't seem like it now says request affiliate information by emailing affiliate at choicedna.com. Once we receive a request, we'll email you an agreement to review, sign, and return. All right. So this is how I got started through Choice DNA. And I'm actually working on my own affiliate program as well, to where you can become an affiliate under me until you actually get your own DDC account. Same thing, Choice DNA, if they provide the results to me, then I'll send the results to you. I can even make a portal for you guys. So, that's something that's neither here nor there, but it's definitely something that's been on my mind. But this is how I actually got started. So so let's say somebody calls me and they say, I need a DNA test for my son. My next question isn't just when do you want to come in? I need to find out what they're trying to actually accomplish. All right. So I asked them, hey, are you testing for personal knowledge? Do you need these for result? I mean, do you need these results for court or another official purpose? But I definitely asked them some questions. And also I have my chat representative set up to do the same thing. Feel free to go in there and play around with it if you want to see how it works. So let's see how much time we have here. So um tonight wasn't about memorizing every DNA test available. I wanted you to understand the main services customers are going to ask you about and how to start thinking about building your service menu. It's very important. So you can start out with one type of test or two type of tests, however you feel comfortable, but don't let all of the options and things that you do hinder you from starting. The best thing to do is to take action. Right? One thing I did when I started, I got accepted to the affiliate program. I got my first DNA testing kits. I started going to like local vape shops and just leaving business cards at vape shops. You know what I'm saying? Like one thing I did was I came up with the slogan, "Don't guess, get a DNA test." And I had Maury Povich on the business card. And he had like the DDC envelope in his hand. And then it said, "Don't guess, get a DNA test." And I was leaving them in different businesses. So if anybody here have questions, please drop them in the chat. All right. So it looks like we're good on questions tonight because I'm the only one here for now. So I will be recording this and posting this. So when people later search for how to get into the DNA testing business, you guys find it. Once you find it, go ahead and watch day one and then catch up and come on, join the live. I'm going live Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. If I don't go live at 10 p.m. because life be lifing, I'll make sure that I do a recording and I'll update it for you the next day, or I may reschedule the time and push it back. The thing is just to come in, get on the website, book it on your calendar so you can start getting notifications about what's going on and how I'm doing things. That way you can stay up to date with the information you need to start your DNA testing business. So if you have any other questions, you can also leave them in the comments on this video and I will address them in upcoming sessions. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow for day 3. But before I go, that is day 2. All right. And again, I'm doing them Monday through Friday, not Saturday and Sunday. I may start doing like videos on Saturday and Sunday, but it might not be about the blueprint. I may, do some marketing strategies or something like that, or just some random videos. But the DNA blueprint, where you're going to learn how to get into the DNA testing business, is going to be Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. So tonight we talked about the different DNA testing services you can offer, the difference between legal and non-legal testing, and how I would think about putting together your first service menu. But now you might be wondering, where do I actually get the DNA test from? Who does the testing? How do I find a laboratory to work with, even though we've already covered some of those things? But that's exactly what we're going to be covering in detail tomorrow. So day 3 is finding a laboratory to work with. All right, we're going to talk about what I would look for in the lab, partner pricing, accreditation, turnaround times, collection supplies, shipping samples, laboratory support, and some of the things I wish I understood when I first got started. I'll also tell you about how I personally started through Choice DNA again, and my relationship and how my relationship with the DDC eventually came about, and and uh and how it's going right now, because my path isn't necessarily the same as everybody else. So if you're serious about starting a DNA testing business, you definitely want to catch day 3. Before I get out of here, does anybody have any additional questions about the different DNA tests we've covered tonight? Let me take another quick look. I'm still the only one here. So I'm going to wrap it up here. If you're watching the recording, leave your questions in the comments. I'll see you tomorrow for day 3. All right. Finding a DNA laboratory to work with. Briefly went over it today. Tomorrow, we'll go over it in detail, because there's not just one. There's many. There's many ways to skin a cat. All right. Take care. Good night.